Stand by to initiate release sequencer. On my mark. 5.
We're on express elevator to hell. Going down.
2. 1. Mark.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mark, a.k.a. Derringer. Today is Sunday, June 4th, and you are listening to episode 108 of the Instant Action Podcast, your weekly source for Planetside 2's news and information. As always, I'm brought to you by great listeners like you via the Support the Show tab on instantactionpodcast.com. First up this week, I wanted to thank everyone again who is using my Amazon link. For those of you who might be newer listeners, an Amazon link allows me to skim a small percentage of your purchase on Amazon. So simply going to my Support the Show tab and clicking my link takes you over to Amazon's website where you just do your normal purchasing. There's no additional cost to you whatsoever. And like I said, I do skim a small percentage of that from Amazon. Save that link. Add it to your parents' desktop. I added it to my mother's desktop, so every time she goes on Amazon and makes purchases, I get a little kickback from that. Do it for your girlfriend who's going to shop anyways. Do it for your wife. Use it yourself. Spread it around. Make everybody use it. Add it to your friends at work. Whatever. The more people using it, the more that I actually get from Amazon. And as always, it goes directly to server costs. So it's a donation to the show without you spending any extra money. A true win-win. Again, if you are already using it, a huge thanks. Second, as promised, I currently have a contest up as of 6 a.m. Eastern for my PlayStation 4 brethren. I felt bad that you guys were left out of my anniversary giveaway and my show 100 giveaway because obviously you guys use a completely different cash system than Daybreak Cash. So I will be giving away, or am giving away, 2 $10 PlayStation cash card codes that I will end up emailing over to you if you are chosen as a winner. Understandably, you don't have to use these on Planetside 2, but just think you could get a shiny new gun or a camo or any other things within the game, and you would be supporting you would be supporting Planetside 2 and the devs by using a cash card that way. Again, if you do win it, you can certainly spend it on whatever the hell you want within the PlayStation Store itself. But it would make me happier if you used it on Planetside 2, and I'm sure it would make the devs happier too. I will be running the contest for a week. It'll end next Saturday. So there will be, I'll be using the Gleam system again, which gives you multiple ways to enter. And good luck to all my PlayStation 4 brethren. Again, I'm sorry that it took me so long to get a contest up for you guys. So, with those two pieces of news out of the way, what is actually in store for this week's show? Well, it was a pretty slow week for Planetside 2 news. Apparently, everyone was taking full advantage of the double XP, that the devs didn't post much of anything. That being said, I do have a June 2nd unannounced PTS patch to talk about. I'm going to talk about the new Ant cosmetics that are coming soon. I'm going to talk about prototype tanks, which have been spotted on the PTS. And finally, I'm going to end the show with a second round of what I'm playing instead of Planetside 2. So strap in as we hot drop into another episode of the Instant Action Podcast. All right, first up this week, like I said, we had an unannounced June 2nd PTS patch, and we have to give thanks to people like Shackle, who enjoy data mining this stuff from the PTS server every time something like this goes live, because, as I said, this was unannounced. There are no official PTS patch notes regarding this patch, but That being said, there were a number of changes that dropped on the PTS on June 2nd. Some of the things that got changed, I'm not going to go through all of them because some of it is just stuff that doesn't make any sense when you read through it because we don't have the context of why something like that was changed, like we would get with an official PTS patch post. So again, this is just information that's being data mined out that is a change from one level of the or one version of the PTS to the next version of the PTS. So there were some changes to EMP nades. The description specifically, it now removes the mention of draining ability energy altogether. So again, we know that the energy drain ability was removed from EMPs on PTS, and that's something that will come to live eventually. Other than that, a new implant called Infravision was added to the PTS, and this allows the user to permanently see the world in infrared vision. And while equipped, the player will highlight infantry and vehicles within 125 meters at all times while reducing vision at long range. Max units can equip this, but it does not work in vehicles. So this is infantry only. This is an interesting little implant that they're adding to the game. It feels very much like the original Darklight implant that we got in the original Planetside. If you did not play the original Planetside, Darklight was an implant that you could equip, and what it would do is allow you to see infiltrators who were cloaked within, I don't remember the meter range, maybe it didn't even feel like 125 meters. Maybe it was 50 meters out. It severely restricted the range, your actual vision range, but again, it allowed you to see cloaked infiltrators at all times. I used to run with it on my Max suit all the time because, especially inside of buildings, because infiltrators would come out of nowhere all the time. So again, obviously this is infravision or IR basically instead of Darklight in this particular case. But again, it feels very similar. I can see some interesting uses for this, potentially equipping this while you're indoors in a small building that allows you to spot enemies a lot easier. I don't know how well this would actually work out in the field. I mean, it is only 125 meters, which isn't that far out, but it's far enough out for you to see a lot of things. Again, I think in a tower fight, this might be really useful. I can think of quite a few other bases, amp stations, or even in a tech plant. I could actually see this working very well when you're actually inside a tech plant trying to hold a point. It does concern me, though, that you can't turn this feature off, that it's always on. That's something that you had in Planetside 1, where you could actually turn off that dark light vision on and off at will. I would like to see them add this implant in and have something that maybe that could be switched on and off. I think it might actually get more usage out of it. Moving along, they changed the description of the Nanomesh Specialist 5. It is now, if you have an active overshield, it's going to drain energy 30% slower while stationary. Previously, it was going to no longer halt energy regeneration at all. So you could continuously regenerate your energy while you had the overshield active. Now it's just going to slow down the drain on that overshield while you're standing still. So that's a big change because a lot of people were complaining that if you ranked that up to rank 5, then there were instances where you could never run out of overshield, and a lot of people felt that that was a little too overpowered. Also, the Ocular Shield 5's description got changed as well. Ocular Shield, when someone throws an EMP grenade, you're able to clear your HUD of that so it wasn't actually affecting you. The change to that now is using the Med or Resto kit is going to provide immunity to these effects for the next 5 seconds. And it's not going to clear effects that are already applied. So again, this is a big change to Ocular Shield 5, because previously, if you were affected by a flash grenade or an EMP or something like that, you could quickly use a med kit or a resto kit, and it would clear those negative things from happening to you. And obviously now the change to that is going to make it so you need to actually see the grenade coming, pop that med kit or resto kit, and then therefore you will prevent that EMP or flash grenade or concussion grenade or whatever from actually affecting you. I kind of liked the fact that you could use it to clear your HUD before, and I don't know that I really like this particular change, but I certainly understand it, especially in the light of gameplay now where we have medkit chugging heavies constantly, that it might have been a little too overpowered with some of the better heavy assault players out there if you could clear the effect from actually happening to you. Next, the implant, the communication hacker implant was changed to the deep operative implant. It now has a new description which says that it passively reduces the visibility of your infiltrator cloak. So what it's going to do is passively reduce the visibility of your cloak by 15%. That's at Tier 1. It's going to be 18% at Tier 2, 23% at Tier 3, 30% at Tier 4, and also 30% at Tier 5. But also, upon being spotted, you will immediately scan the minimap for enemies within 20 meters. So that's when somebody else spots you, you're going to get a full scan of the minimap for all enemies within 20 meters of you. So that's certainly going to help if you get spotted by the enemy. Obviously, this is a big change from what it was previously, because previously, close-range kills were going to reveal nearby enemies in real time on your minimap itself, and as you can see, that has changed drastically to what it is now, where it's giving you better shielding or better invisibility of your cloak. I do think that I agree with this change. I think just the way it was before didn't really lend itself to what an infiltrator actually is. So I do kind of like this change. I think a lot of people agree with that sentiment that the comm hacker just didn't really feel like something that infiltrators were going to use, or didn't feel infiltratory, I guess is the word that I would certainly use. So I think a lot of us are interested in seeing this deep operative one now that it's been changed. They've also added another new implant called Sensor Shield, and what that's going to do is hide your radar signature from enemy detection devices. Your signature will no longer appear on detection devices outside of 45 meters at Tier 1, 42 meters at Tier 2, 35 meters at Tier 3, 25 meters at Tier 4, and at Tier 5, in addition to 25 meters, you will no longer be highlighted by thermal or IRNV at any time. I think the Sensor Shield is a good one, and that's going to be a very interesting one when people start picking that one up, especially if we get a lot of people using thermals or IRNV more, they're not going to see people on them. It's certainly a much more interesting implant, and something that I think people have been asking for ever since it was taken away from the last round of implants. Next, the implants, when you break them down, the breakdown ISO value has been changed on the PTS. So it used to be, if you break down a Tier 1, you get 25 ISO, and that went to 90 to 280 to 1,125 to 3,090 for a Tier 5 implant. The new values are going to be still 25 for a Tier 1, but it's going to be up to 100 for a Tier 2, down to 250 for a Tier 3, down to 750 for a Tier 4, and down to 1,500 for a Tier 5. Again, this is just breaking down duplicates. This is not the actual cost to upgrade a rank 1 or Tier 1 all the way to Tier 5. What this is going to mean is it's going to be harder to collect ISO, especially with higher implants. But again, the actual ability to get duplicates of those higher ranked implants certainly doesn't happen a lot. I mean, every time I seem to purchase implants, I get tier 1s, and those are only worth 25, and there's no change to that. So I don't know how much this is really going to affect people, but clearly it's just a change to the amount of ISO you're going to get when you break these things down. Some other things added to the PTS, they added the vehicle capture points, and they also modified Hassan's sky file. The sky file on Hassan is now very similar to Amerish, so no more creepy, murky, dark Hassan, which I'm not too happy about. I know why it's being done, because a lot of people didn't like the darkness on Hassan and felt it was tough to fight there, and obviously with a new sky file, that should push some people over there, but we'll certainly see. Again, I like the idea that Hassan is a swamp, and now it doesn't really feel like Hassan is a swamp anymore. The final thing I want to talk about in these patch notes is the new model for an NS pistol was added to the game. There's no other information just besides a picture, and it's being dubbed the NS45 Hangman. Now, when I saw these patch notes, and I think everybody knows where I'm going to be going on this, my first thought was, oh shit, there's the pistol. How come it's not named the Derringer? Now, if you guys go back to my show at the beginning of the year, you will remember that Rel and I talked, and he said he really wanted to get a pistol into the game and it be a Derringer style and call it a NS Derringer. And ever since then, I've been as giddy as a schoolgirl about something like that making it into the game, and I was a little disheartened when I saw that this was going to be called the Hangman, because it's a very small-looking pistol. It's I don't know guns, so don't kill me. I don't know. It's a small pistol, and my first thought was, wow, this could actually be called the NS Derringer, even though it doesn't really look like a Derringer pistol. I mean, if you've ever looked up a Derringer pistol, they're usually 1 or 2 shots, and they're very small to fit in the palm of your hand, so they can be concealed easily. If you've ever watched the anime Trigun, then you know the main character, or one of the characters, Meryl Streep in that, has a whole bunch of Derringer pistols inside her cloak. Again, they're small and they're very easily concealed. So certainly it doesn't fit the idea of what this NS45 pistol looks like, and I get that. So, but I did go to Twitter and I said, oh, you know, why I wish... what did I write on Twitter? I said, I got excited until I saw the name. How do I petition to change this to NS45 Derringer? And I linked to Planetside 2 and Rel and also the image. And I did get a response from Rel saying that he is holding out hope that we can get an actual Derringer-style pistol in the game at some point. And at that point, I said I would shut my mouth and let them do their work with the NS45 Hangman and not a Derringer. Again, I'm dying to be immortalized in a game like this. Maybe it's just me trying to get, I don't know, get recognition for podcasting about this game as long as I have. Obviously, I don't expect to get anything like that in the game, but it would be the coolest thing ever if something like that happened. So we can look forward to potentially, again, it's just a model. We have no information on it. We don't know if this will ever even make it into the game or not. But a potentially new NS pistol could be coming down the pipeline as well. That is the June 2nd unofficial or unannounced, it is official, unannounced PTS patch that we got. And with that, let's move on to another topic. All right, second this week, I want to talk about Ant Cosmetics, because we got a tweet from Rel, and this was on June 4th. Actually, that was this morning. A picture, and he also tagged Steve-O as well, who is one of the more prolific player studio artists for Planetside 2. He's a nice guy. I've read his emails on the show as well, and it looks like he's actually been designing some ant cosmetics, because Rel tweeted a picture of an ant decked out with, it looks like some kind of crazy mix between a cow catcher and a bulldozer front, or a digging front, and it's got some lights on the top and lights on the side, armor on the sides. Definitely looks pretty cool. I'm a fan of cosmetics in the game, especially Player Studio cosmetics, because I know it allows the developers to keep developing the game and allow players like Steve-O, who is a big fan of Planetside 2, continue to make a little bit of money on the side by creating stuff like this for Planetside 2. So yeah. Also, it looks like Fuzzbucket and Affable Automaton are also creating some ant cosmetics as well. So hopefully we're going to see ant cosmetics sooner rather than later. Unfortunately, if you are a PlayStation 4 Planetside 2 player, you know that you still don't have the ant, and therefore you're not going to be able to take advantage of these new cosmetics, but we are still holding out hope that construction is going to be coming to PlayStation 4 sooner rather than later, even though I haven't heard sniff of a test in any recent days. I'd always hoped that there would be more stuff about that coming down the pipeline. So, again, just a tiny little article, but I do want to give props to people like Steve-O, Fuzzbucket, and Affable Automaton, who are putting together cosmetics for this game. I always say, if you see something that you like that is Player Studio item, please buy it, because you're supporting people like Steve-O, Fuzzbucket, and Affable Automaton create cool stuff like this. Yeah, they'd probably do it for free because they enjoy doing stuff like that, but the fact that they get a small amount back from Daybreak Games is going to keep them creating cool cosmetics within the game itself. So again, if you are an ant player, get your wallet ready, because cosmetics are coming. Topic number 3 this week comes to me courtesy of Drax21. Drax21 has been doing quite a number of YouTube videos lately. He's become very prolific every time a patch drops, or any patch drops, anything hits the PTS, stuff like this. He does the type of YouTube video I wish that I had the time to do to accompany my podcast, because he gets out there on live or on the test server and actually shows you visual images of the stuff that's coming to the game. So I have not talked about Drax on the show previously, but it's about time I give Drax the props that he deserves, because he is pumping out a lot of cool stuff. I'm going to include a link to his YouTube video, which will also give you a link to his YouTube account, or his YouTube channel as well, so that you can subscribe to him, and I highly recommend you subscribe to him, because he's putting out some great work at this point. But what he did was he brought us images of the prototype tanks that we're starting to see on the PTS. Now, this is something that came in the PTS patch, and I didn't cover because I wanted to have its own separate topic to spend a few moments on it here. And you may be asking yourself, what are prototype tanks? I've never heard of these before. Prototype tanks is a new alert that is on the PTS, and it hasn't been kicking off too many times. I haven't seen it anytime I've been on the test server, and I've been trying to catch it, so I'm glad somebody else did. So thank you, Drax, for putting this together. What it is these prototype crates spawn within the game itself. And if you use your activation tool E, or you activate them by pressing your E key, you're going to unlock a prototype tank that's going to spawn on the screen in front of you out of this crate. Currently, the prototype tank is using a placeholder model It is just a Vanguard body with a Colossus cannon mounted on it. If you're not familiar with the Colossus, this is something that has been kicking around within Daybreak Games for a while. In the early days of Planetside 2, there was talk of making a giant tank bigger than a Prowler, a Vanguard, and a Mag Rider combined, with multiple turrets and having multiple operators, on guns and stuff like that. And it's just something that has never come to reality within the game itself. But it sounds like these prototype tanks actually could end up being the Colossus itself with the cannon on it. Now, what you need to do to win this alert is to destroy the most prototype tanks for your faction. So whichever faction destroys the most wins the alert itself. Now, the prototype tanks can actually be driven around and fired by the person who opens it up and jumps in it. Now, again, it's a placeholder currently, so we're not sure what changes we're going to see to it. Right now, like I said, it's a Colossus cannon mounted on a Vanguard. The cannon itself is fixed, which means you need to move the entire tank around in order to fire at something. But currently, direct hits are killing all but heavy assault players with a shield active. Even the splash damage from these is doing a heck of a lot of damage. Also, they have high health. Drax did some testing on this and found that it took quite a number of hits to the back of these things to actually destroy them. So there's something that you're going to need to combine some fire on to actually take down. It's something new, and I'm glad that they're playing around with new types of alerts like this. I think the current alert system of just capturing a continent is rather stale at this point, and I liked when they had things like capture all the biolabs or capture all the tech plants and have it go across multiple continents. I thought that was good for the game, and I've been disappointed ever since they took all those different things away from the game and just left it capture a particular continent. So the fact that they're still playing around with alerts like this makes me happy. The fact that they've got something where they've clearly thought completely outside of the box, where we've had no destroy all of X items before in the game. So I'm very excited to see this, and I hope that they finish fleshing this out completely and get this onto the live server sooner rather than later. Like I said, I will include a link to Drax's video. You got to go to the end of the video to get all the kind of cool stuff about these prototype tanks. But it's definitely worth taking a few moments of your time and watching it and getting as psyched as I did. All right, fourth topic and final topic this week before I get into this week's mailbag and some email. I want to talk about more games that I'm playing instead of Planetside 2. I understand that Planetside 2 is not the only game out there, and some people are sick of it because of all the hackers that we've seen in the game lately. Maybe you're burnt out of the game, and everybody gets burnt out at times. And when I was in one of my little burnout phases, I actually picked up another mobile game that I wanted to talk about briefly. This game is called Soul Hunters. Website is www.soulhuntersgame.com. It's on both Android and iOS. I'm playing it on Android right now. I was pushed over to this game when I kind of hit a paywall with the other mobile game that I was playing, Dungeon Boss, where I just couldn't do anything within that game itself without actually spending some money on it to speed things up. And I jump shipped over to this new game, this other game. It's not a new game. It's been out a while, called Soul Hunters. Soul Hunters has a campaign built into it where you've got a collection of heroes that all have their special abilities, and they charge up their energy over time and are able to execute a giant ability, like the main tank that you get. He does some special attack with a sword. You've got a mage character that has fireballs rain down from the sky. You've got a healer character who heals up your entire party when her energy bar is full. There are quite a number of little characters within this game. I have not collected them all yet, Pokemon style. They seem to be adding new ones each month, and they also have all kinds of different ways to, spend a little cash and get some extra stuff in game. In addition to the campaign in Soul Hunters, you've also got ways of building up the little characters' equipment, and every time you max out all 6 of their equipment slots, you're able to fuse that equipment and level them up. And you can do that multiple times. You can start, they start at gray, they move up to green, they move up to blue, move up to purple. And finally, they move up to orange, and I've got a lot of my characters up to orange because I'm level 91 at this point. I've been playing this game for a while, and I have not talked about it at all because, again, it's just a mobile game that I kind of play sometimes when I'm on the toilet. And I think that's when the best mobile games are played. So if you are looking for a distraction from Planetside 2, I can't recommend Soul Hunters enough. I've thrown a little cash at it. They have a way to gain. They use gems within the game itself. For $2.99 a month, you're able to get 120 gems a day. I've thrown that amount at them a couple times now, just to give them a little taste of my cash. Because I do play the game. I play it every day. This is a game I actually play every day. Usually on my lunch break, I fire it up, I roll through it, do all my quests, get all my XP. Get all my XP and then put the game down until the next day. So, again, if you are looking for a small mobile game to play, I can't recommend Soul Hunters enough. I am on server number 200 named Audacious Fairy, and I'm in the game as Derringer, so you can certainly try and find me there if you are interested. And with that, let's move on to a little housekeeping.
Housekeeping! Housekeeping!
Come back later, please.
Housekeeping?
Not now.
Housekeeping?
Go away.
I coming anyway?
All right, this week I did get an email. It was from D-Drag, and he writes, "My outfit, the Pink Fairies, is notorious for getting vehicles in crazy places, which sometimes leads to Daybreak patching the game in response. Mag Riders in trees, Mags in the biolabs, and the infamous Sunday on the Crown were some of Pink's hits. This latest video is floating a Sunday over a wall with infiltrator dots." And he included a link to the YouTube video that I will include in this week's show notes as well. This is some crazy shit. They actually get a Sunderer, get underneath it, fire some infiltrator darts. They're also firing them from crossbows, and ultimately they are able to float the Sunderer up, and actually over a wall on Esamir in a base. It is the craziest thing I have ever seen. Now, I play with Joke and Bax, and one of the players there, Gelos, is extremely good at getting Sunderers into crazy places. He's notorious for getting his Sunderer up inside the tech plant right on top of the point. But I don't think that he's ever tried this. I'm going to have to show this video to him and see if he wants to try doing something like this with a Sunderer. Again, D-Drag, thank you for this video. I enjoyed it, and I know that my listeners will enjoy it as well. So that is actually going to be it, though, for this week's show. How can you get in touch with me or the show? As always, visit my website. It's www.instantactionpodcast.com. Send me an email, just like D-Drag did, at instantactionshow@gmail.com. Call me, leave me a voicemail, 347-486-4772. That's 347-4VM4PS2. The show's Twitter account is at InstActPodcast, and my personal Twitter is at The Derringer. So, in closing, if you've enjoyed the show, please leave me a review on your podcast listening avenue of choice, whether it's iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or anywhere else. Also, feel free to tell your friends and outfit mates about the show. And finally, thanks for listening, and keep spamming that Join Combat, formerly known as Instant Action button.